What up? How is everyone? To the world. To the world. Today's guest is on Chatting with Natty. Pew, 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 pew. It's a beautiful day outside. We're gonna see if we can do this entire chat. Oh, my guest just arrived. Let's see. Let's see. It's a beautiful day, as we can all see. Let's see. Hey,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Good to see you finally.
Same. Congratulations are in order.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That was the NPC, right?
Yeah, I did an NPC show on Saturday.
Okay. I'd love to get your whole thing because it seems like you compete in multiple federations, if I'm not mistaken.
And I do. That's always kind of been my thing. I love to play ball. As Alberto Nunez, that is, if we're bodybuilders, we just want to get on stage and mix it up with individuals on stage, regardless of that. For me, like proximity matters. Like if there's a show close, uh, jump up on there. But particularly, I wasn't aiming for. I was there for my wife, and she and I haven't been together in 13 years. And I was like, well, if you're gonna get up there, I'm gonna get up there.
I love it. I love it. Hold on. Oh, hmm. Oh, I lost you for a second.
That's okay.
Okay, so nice. So your wife was doing the show,
Yeah.
and you were like, "I want to do it too," just because. And you went through like the entire cut and everything.
No, my shows are just scheduled later in the year. That's all. I
Okay.
was up this show here. This the Open Natural. August 23rd was going to be my warm up show, and then I was going to do a series of shows through September to possibly November.
Okay. And is this how you kind of go through the year each year, or is it just case by
Every
case?
different. Like kind of go by feel. Typically, it starts with a mini cut. Like, hey, it's going to be summertime. I want to shed some of that winter weight, and then if the body's responding well and it's not creating obstacles, I'll say, hey, I'll keep going. I don't like forcing preps. I've done enough of them now where if the body's giving me feedback like, hey, red alert. I'm not a fan of continuing through that.
Absolutely. And am I not mistaken? But you've organized your own shows too, haven't you?
Yes, I'm also a promoter. Correct.
Okay. Tell me about that. Is that in a specific federation?
Yeah, so I started promoting in 2019 with the WNBF here in Oregon, and I continued that until 2024 last year, and then we got sanctioned by the American Natural Bodybuilding Federation, the ANBF. So that is Kent Beerley and Ryan Sullivan. They're president and vice president of the federation. Really, it had to do with belief systems and supporting the athletes, putting them first. I have no hard feelings towards any fed or anything. I've learned a lot. Appreciate the people. I love natural bodybuilding like yourself, and I wanna be able to participate openly with like you just saw. For me to promote natural bodybuilding, I feel like it's maybe best to get out there on those things that are maybe not natural and show people what's possible drug free to inspire them that you can do rather well without drugs. And so I feel like the best way to do that is lead by example. But there's certain rules and regulations in other feds that do not allow such. So one thing that I had to vet the ANBF on when I said, hey, I want to maybe do this with you guys is that the president of the ANBF is Ken Beerley. He is a pro in every single organization. IFBB, OCB, WNBF, ANBF, IP, like, and I'm like, whoa, like you're over 60 years old, you're killing it, living a lifestyle. President of the Fed, you put on a dozen shows yourself, and I saw you compete at every one of the biggest shows. He did Mr. America, OCB Cup, WNBF Worlds last year, and his own ANBF show. And I was like, how are you doing this? And he's like, because that's how I do things. And I'm like, I'd like to do that too, because I feel like that's the best way for us to meet people and represent, what's possible drug free instead of saying, I need to put my stamp on you and you're only allowed to do that. That led to a lot of conflicts because I'm a coach and I'm a trainer, I'm a gym owner, I'm a promoter, and I'm also an athlete and a judge. And so I like to meet new people. I like to bring people in. And the only way that's possible is to support them regardless of the route they want to go. I'm cool with it. I'm going to help them as best I can. And I just feel like that's probably the best bet moving forward for me to sleep at night and be happy.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
absolutely.
Um, our views are very similar. Very
I
similar. Yeah, yeah. I have the same kind of vision so far as the types of competitions I want to participate in over the next several decades.
mhm.
Next several decades. All right, so I can see that we are definitely allies. So the one thing I wanted to ask you is steroids in natural bodybuilding. Is that a thing that actually we run into, or
Drug testing. So depending on the natural federation, the extent of drug testing can be really deep, or off-season testing even, or blood work or hair even. But the majority of natural vets are going to do their semblance of drug testing by a polygraph and urinalysis. And we do have pretty similar listings to the World Anti-Doping Agency saying, hey, these aren't allowed as performance enhancers. And our polygraph test will be our initial route of saying, hey, let's use this as a deterrent before you get on our stage. And then if you do win, we're going to urinalysis test you and verify that you're clean. And that seems to be the best route throughout to catch anyone slipping through the cracks. As a promoter, we have had our fair share of people who have not passed polygraphs or urinalysis testing, and they are either banned or restricted from the federation. That people do try, and the percentage we've ran into, and this is anecdotal towards what we've had, is about 2.5%, is whether they are knowing or unknowing that they're taking a banned substance.
2.5%, huh?
About that for our entry levels thus far.
Well, that's positive.
That's not bad. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good. Because, all right. So one thing I want to clarify is I'm truly a student and I'm incredibly new to this sport. My training partner actually just joined, so we're actually gonna let him in too because
Sure.
we love to share knowledge. Give me one sec. Cool. But yeah, I was saying that like I'm a true student. What's up, Valley?
What's the deal?
How you doing?
Getting you? Just left the
Aaron,
gym.
Valley, Aaron.
What's up, big dog? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Heard a lot of
Absolutely.
great things about you.
Uh,
Yes, yes. But yeah, as I was just saying, so like Valley and myself are both very new to the sport, and we're just getting kind of like outside opinion as to what's actually happening within the natural bodybuilding circuit. And the outside opinion is that all the top level athletes are taking steroids, and all of the shows are just like complete bullshit.
wow.
Yeah.
I, I I try not to pay attention to the word not. So if we surround ourselves with athletes who are participating in these competitions, and you'll notice a bit the naysayers and the ones who are actively trying to better themselves. Typically, those individuals are going to realize those differences between what's actuality. And I'm just going to rewind 20 years when I started. If I was to look from the outside in at the natural bodybuilding circuit today and see the best athletes, I would have skepticism, 100%, especially with social media lighting and edited photos and doctored videos. However, if we are to compete and go to these shows, you're going to notice a lot of consistencies amongst these natural athletes. And while there is a small subset of people trying to slip through the cracks, knowing or unknowing, at the highest level in the reputable natural feds, the OCB, the WNBF, the ANBF, the IPE, the majority of these athletes are drug free and they are the best of the best. And when we highlight that, out, they that's what caused those.
Valley, I think there's. I'm sorry, Aaron. Could you mute yourself? It's
I don't even know how to mute myself up.
okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. You were saying?
Yeah, so the very best athletes, and I've been on those stages, expediting, visiting, watching. I've seen just absolutely incredible athletes, but you have to rewind and look at the journeys. If you're skeptical of an athlete, how long have they been training, and in that time frame, has there been any abrupt increases in lean tissue? The majority of these athletes we're talking about and looking at, that hasn't been the case. What has been the case is slow, steady, consistent progressions over a long period of time. And if there was drug use, well, let's rewind back and find out when that pace became exponential. Uh, that's your first telltale sign, is like, whoa, hey, this 19-year-old put on 25 pounds and then he maintained that indefinitely. Well, there's some skepticism. But
Right.
that 19-year-old is now 39 and he put on 25 pounds. Over that course of time, do you have as much skepticism? And the answer is, well, no, that sounds more reasonable, right? So you can't look at an athlete and just say, hey, he's on drugs. We have to go, let's look at the tenure of that athlete's journey, and then be able to make a decision on, was anything abrupt. And the honest answer for the majority of these naturals who you've looked at and you've broadcasted, the answer is no. They've just been at it for a prolonged period of time consistently.
I love that answer, and that's like, uh, we'll quote you on that. My big concern or issue is, and it's becoming, as this whole project becomes more real and it becomes more solidified, and the pieces start clicking together. I start focusing on the problems to anticipate.
Yes.
And one of the problems to anticipate is that, okay, $1 million on the line, the Natty King. If we bring a really great physique on to compete for $1 million, and the world knows about this competition because it's being promoted through Netflix, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to respond? Like, oh, that guy's not natural. That guy's not natural. This whole thing's a joke.
Well, there's pros and cons here. The pro is that with your doubt and skepticism, you create controversy. Controversy is not bad, right? Like, if people are going to be like, hey, I'm now talking about Shaun Fury's Natty King. Whether it be good or bad, you're going to control that. But even publicity is still publicity. And it's okay to have some skepticism, because then people tune in and they want to know a little more, okay? And
Right.
they're going to. So this isn't inherently bad. You're going to run into it, there's no doubt about it.
And I
But
agree with him.
you can use it to your advantage.
I agree with him. It's like what I was just saying to you earlier on your Instagram page, bro. You gotta, like, we can't sway everybody. And like you just said, that controversy only feeds life into what we're doing. If we don't have anybody talking about this shit in a negative light, then nobody's gonna want to go watch it, in a
That's
sense.
fair.
So it has to go hand in hand. It's like, how can I use this on the enhanced counterpart? It's like, I'll get back to you on when I get an example, but I definitely do agree with him on that. Like, I can see where he's right, in a
Yeah.
sense.
So, all right. So what I'm thinking, this is just for my own peace of mind, just drowning people in information, just drowning them in information, and it doesn't even have to be on the show itself. It can be in like the lead up to the show, just like boom, 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 drug testing out the fucking wazoo, all of this information.
You know who Jeff Nippert is, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So Jeff does such, and he still runs into a of anti. So that's one route to go, but just prepare yourself to be frustrated.
mm,
There will be a large subset of individuals that will have their doubts regardless, and these are doubts they have themselves more than anything else, because they may not be capable of that level of discipline. And then I run into this in my profession all the time. I'm straight up with people. I'm like, look, I've been doing this for 20 years straight without a break. No breaks, straight through, straight off. When you put it that way, I don't care what career path you've chosen. You're going to be pretty freaking good at it, right? But the thing is, not everybody has that level of discipline, honest truth, or dedication, or
Keep telling you that.
fast. So
You know what? Yeah. You know
it's
what
just
I think?
possible for everybody.
You know what I think is fascinating about what it is that you're saying? There are more individuals that will work a 9 to 5 for 20 years and see no
Yes.
progression, see no growth, because they chose the job and they're like, this is just a job. Maybe they get like 1 or 2 promotions over the course of their career, right? Whereas bodybuilding and other things that actually force you to develop and progress, it stands to reason that if you were to spend that same amount of time, that same 20 years progressing, you would have a different result.
I agree. I totally understand where you're coming from, and that's I think the personality differences you see, and what the majority of really good athletes are pretty type A, right? They're hyper focused, they're super consistent, they drown out the noise when it comes to doubt, but not everyone is type A, and not everybody is completely focused on one endeavor. Heck, I train people all the time. I've made many pros, and not all of them look at this as a long-term career path. And that can be disheartening for me because like, oh, you would be so good if you just kept going. But, people flop in their desires, but their goals are not everybody, but most. So that's the biggest thing you're going to run into with natural bodybuilding, or let's say bodybuilding, is that advanced bodybuilders go all the way. They can get to the tip of the top if they're going to put all the effort in and have the genetics. But it's going to be real rare now for a natural that you need. There's no way around. You're going to need to put the time and effort in. No that you can take. So it's even more of a rare subset of individual you got to run into at that level, which makes it even more skeptical for the general public.
Hmm. Hmm. Fascinating. Yeah. Okay. Well, it always comes back to like the same truth, which is like, let's just not bother. Let's just not bother worrying about what they think. Um, One thing I wanted to touch on is you started like you've been doing this for 20 years, right?
Right.
Someone else has been doing it for 20 years. Let's say we took 50 people and they've all been competing for 20 years, or like they've all been bodybuilding for 20 years.
Yes.
Would the physiques be drastically? Would there be like a spectrum of like great to mid physiques
There.
for? Mm-hmm.
Have you been to a natural pro show?
I haven't.
Okay. So the answer is by the untrained eye, you're going to get up there and you're going to be like, I have no idea how the difference is. It's going to be apples, oranges, bananas. It's going to be what Shaun Fury like more than it becomes a heavily opinion side. Do you like the posterior development? Pretty good. A big chest and arms like this is what you're going to run into. And the genetic profile will dictate. But ultimately, they're all very pros because you go, oh, this is up there at all.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Hmm. How would you? Okay. Let's say you got like 20 people on
Oh,
stage, and it's all like pick and choose. What's your strategy when it comes to winning a natural show?
all you can control
Oh,
yourself.
can we? I think there's if
Yeah,
Valley.
I don't. I feel like the same thing. No, I don't know if they're saying what I because every time I feel like he speaks, I'm getting like blotchy. I can't hear him fully.
I think it's something to do with someone's audio. But what if we both mute ours when Aaron talks, and then we'll troubleshoot it?
All right.
All right.
Is it better now? I just turned my Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, it does work a lot better.
Okay. Maybe it was my Wi-Fi.
Nice. Okay, this works.
So my what was the question?
Your strategy for winning, since you understand that it becomes more opinionated.
My for winning is all you can do is control yourself. Like you can't be like, well, I know I'm going up against you know this athlete who has this body part and this athlete is super conditioned. All you can do is control your self on stage, whether it be your posing or your peaking protocol or your fullness. And and then you let the cards fall as you may on the judging panel. And sometimes the judging panel can favor one thing or another, or the federation or organization can favor one thing or another, or maybe there's some politics or bias involved. You can't control these things. All you can do is bring your best self on what you believe is the ideal.
Okay, I love that. And you actually brought a lot of things into play when it comes to how a decision gets made, a lot of them being completely out of your control. So when an athlete understands that, that's basically the name of the game when it comes to bodybuilding, is that you're just showing up with your best package and you're going in positive. I guess, all right, so I'm very curious about the forces at work that end up with crowning an overall champion. The politics, the everything.
Oh
It's
boy.
like, yeah, right? Yeah, I think, well, for me, I think it's fascinating. Plus, like, I'm a storyteller. So to me, like, I feel like the story of bodybuilding has largely been unexplored. The politics that go behind the scenes. And when it comes to the production of the Natty King, I am looking to capture all of that, but it's going to be safe because it's going to be within the realm of my own promotion. So we're just going to depict how politics look without shining a specific light on any specific federation.
Oh boy, that is a loaded, multifaceted question because you're. I could go into certain organizations, certain favoritism. I could go into that any competition that is essentially opinion because we don't have any raw data. It's not powerlifting where you lifted the weight or you didn't, or you're a 100-meter dash, you pass the tape before the next guy. It's literally like, well, I think he had more muscle. I think he was more conditioned. I think they posed better. Once we get into subjectiveness, then it becomes opinionated, and then it comes down to who is on that judging panel, what is the organization, what is the judging criteria, which does change depending on the federation and the class that you're in, classic versus bodybuilding, fit versus physique. Uh, all those things do play a role on that stage, and it needs to be clear cut what that judging criteria is. You have to have judges that are really locked and loaded on the criteria, not their own opinion,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or they don't really have much bias or affiliation with the athletes on stage.
Right,
And
right.
things are, I'll tell you right now, impossible to fully. It's impossible.
It's kind of like a jury.
It, yeah, yeah. I suppose we're not sending them to jail. We're sending
Right.
them the Natty King title. It sounds like.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. So the question I have for you. So this is kind of how I want to do the judging, to like kind of make it as fair as possible. And again, we're just bouncing off ideas. We're aiming to go into production in 2028, so we have plenty of time to really flesh everything out. Right?
A long time.
Yes. Thank you. You're cool. All right, I'm with you. So the question I have is, I have this vision of it being like a unanimous decision where the Natty King who gets crowned, it's like the audience is thinking like that's the guy that's supposed to get crowned. How do we
Oh,
create? How do we create that feeling?
so one of my shows that I put on here in Eugene, Oregon, we borrowed an old concept from like 70 years ago, called the Best Body Part Awards. And so what we do is we go, hey, we're gonna have a Best Chest Award, and we have test judges that select a few people throughout the day that they thought that body part this person really stood out for. Maybe they didn't win the class or the overall, but before we conclude the show, we're going to take, competitor from that physique class and that master's bodybuilder and maybe even that women's bodybuilder. And they get to go up there and battle it out. And the audience, via crowd noise, decides who the victor is. All right. And believe it or not, every year we did that. The audience got it right. They got it right every time. Like they knew, and it wasn't just favoritism. And, it was like this person is a shining light here. And we took it out of the judges' hands. We have now more voices and we've got more involved. And it was a big hit. So utilizing that, I would say the more brains you have on that decision making process, maybe you can somehow use the internet to your advantage here. 2028, who knows? You got AI that's probably going to run the world anyway by that point.
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, internet, what do you think? And if you have high enough 4K video, maybe they'll make the decision for you.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, Aaron, and this is like we're going into stuff that I haven't talked about out loud. But what I'm thinking is we would have a celebrity head judge, like currently the idea is Greg Doucette because he's already given a verbal confirmation to do it. So let's say we stick with Greg Doucette. We put the camera on him during the competition, and we're actually seeing the decisions that he's making in real time to inform the audience as to how an expert's eye is assessing each athlete.
You
So
need to have
then,
a good narrator. Now, I don't know what his experience is in the natural bodybuilding world, but I would say to ensure that you do have somebody who's well versed in the natural bodybuilding world and well versed on judging criteria on all organizations. Because if you're doing your own thing, well, you're kind of borrowing the judging criteria from everybody unanimously, and you're gonna have to make it standardized enough so people can make this decision wisely, because that's a lot of money line to be objective.
right? Yeah, yeah. So properly identifying what it is that we're looking for is key. So,
It's beyond key. Like you can have a lot of concern complaints if photography and videography come out and someone was bigger and they didn't win, or they're leaner and they didn't win, or they
okay,
pulled better. They
okay,
didn't.
all right. So
And now
let's,
now Shaun Fury's on the line because, well, maybe he selected the wrong person because his criteria wasn't strict enough.
yeah, we got to look out for that. Um, Geez, man. All right, so Aaron, my take on bodybuilding from like again 2 years in, so my level of bodybuilding knowledge is only slightly above a regular enthusiast of like Arnold Schwarzenegger and pumping iron. You know, like that was my bodybuilding knowledge up until 2 years ago. Okay.
Great start.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll take it. So as I continue to immerse myself in the world and become educated on the history, specifically on the IFBB side, the way that Mr. Olympias were crowned and stuff like that, from my perspective, the top victories are all political. The top victories are like there's a lot more going behind the scenes than just like a really great physique because they're looking to sell, they're looking to promote, they're looking to market, they're looking to make a lot of money. So it's very important as to the story that goes behind each crowning of the next Mr. Olympia. Keeping that in mind, the Natty King is supposed to be all about transparency. These are natural athletes. So we're intending to be the mirror to the IFBB and the enhanced side by exposing all of the information. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the way I would like to lead this story, we should all have an idea as to who's supposed to win by the time that we actually do the show. We should all have the same idea. And then if it's like an upset where a person comes in leaner, we
Yes.
can see it. We can see it. We can see like, oh my God, we never saw this happening, but this guy's leader today. And like he deserves to win.
I love the fact that you're bringing up that, regardless of politics, we want to choose the best athlete on that stage. And that's what we all want as spectators and athletes ourselves. But if it comes down to an apple and an orange, and we got people who everyone knows and has a huge social media following, loves them, and we got the just as good, but they ain't got shit for a following. And guess what? They're just not as, they're a little bit more socially awkward than the other. This is when those business decisions must be made on my business model. And that's why, say, in the history of something like the Mr. Olympia, that those decisions have been made. Is that who's my better representative? Who's going to make me more money for the following 365?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blame an organization business for making that decision.
No, you can't. I'm so glad that you're saying that. I feel like I can breathe for once, just the fact that we're able to talk about this.
I feel like he's right about as far as like when the person who wins, the fans like it kind of like they're not bothered by the person winning, but I feel like fans are always going to root or have some type of bias for the person that they're rooting for. So you're not going to be able to make a fan off the back by, oh yeah, that's the guy. Because if they already in the back of their mind, Jay Cutler's their guy, Ronnie Coleman should not win to them. But if he wins, oh yeah, Ronnie was the guy, and they should be happy with that. And I feel like I'm satisfied with that because your fans should be your fans for a reason. They should be rooting for you all the way through until it's definite. Okay, damn, he got smoked. But if like yeah, And even still, you still gonna have some of your fans that are still gonna be like, oh damn, I think Shaun got cheated in this one, or Valley got cheated, or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Because those are your fans. But now, when it comes down to the political side of it, the judging and everything else, that's where yes, it has to be. It can't be anything mind blowing out of the ordinary to where that person gets second place versus him getting first, and it's like he should have won. You know what I'm saying? But fans being fans, I think that's you can't take a fan being a fan away from them. I think that's unfair.
Okay, so definitely we want fan involvement, we want audience involvement, but we want to make it clear that the decision is being made by the expert judges, and we're seeing the decisions being made in real time as we cover the entire journey.
That's where a lot of these shows are going towards right now. And they want narration that is describing that to the more novice or beginner viewers that don't quite know what's going on. Like, they want explanations in real time about why these decisions are being made and why people are being moved around on stage the way they're being moved around, for comparisons, or for the fact that maybe someone's just hitting a pose or presenting that much better, and they're in real time allowing the audience to be in the know.
Okay, yeah, that works. That works. All right. Any thoughts on with your promotion experience? Do you have any tips, any pieces of advice that I should consider as we continue on this journey?
Be prepared for competition from other organizations. Yeah, like you're regardless of the date you choose, you're going to run into shows that exist on that date. You're going to run into organizations that have big shows around that date, and they are not going to just bow down and let your show take their viewership, spectators or their athletes. So you need to know what shows are existing on what dates if you want to make yourself do this correctly and have the most participation. But on top of it, you're going to have to be aware of whose toes you're stepping on in the process.
Would you advise meeting with all of the top heads of the federations and just like chatting with them, maybe one on one, maybe in a group?
You will not get them in a group. You will be far better off reaching out to them personally.
Okay. What do they hate each other?
Um, it's the same concept as any other sporting heads. You're not going to get a bunch of MLB managers all in the same. They're in competition with one another. They're not
Okay.
giving each other any leg up on one another, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is income, and it's a business, and it's profit. So if you're giving someone a little intel, well, if it benefits them, it's going to hurt someone else. So you got to be careful with that.
All right. Well, I have Val. You're muted. Say, what are you saying?
I said I've told you this before.
What did you tell me?
I'm saying, as far as he's saying, like, information, like, I can't explain. I can't. Damn, I forgot exactly what he was just saying, but he pretty much saying like, they're not going to give any information to another federation that can possibly use or
Okay. All right. So
manipulate, or you know what
yeah.
I'm saying, take away from them
Right.
before
Right.
they
Right. Right.
can
Right. Okay.
gain.
All right. So Aaron, since you're in it, I can tell that you're knowledgeable about like how these federations work. Okay. So I'm gonna just pitch to you and like just poke holes in it. Okay.
Okay.
My plan is to blow up the entire sport and all the federations as a part of it. So if we're going for global marketing
Well,
within Netflix, like let's say the best case scenario is we get it picked up on Netflix and it is the next Physical 100, getting
yes.
viewed by millions and millions of people, and we're featuring athletes from various federations.
Yes.
The goal is not for the worldwide success of that specific show. The goal is the worldwide success of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
By highlighting the athletes, we're showing that there is going to be another season. So now is your time to start getting ready to be the next Natty King. Is it going to be the athlete from OCB or WMBF or DFAC? We get to decide that.
And I love because I share your passion of trying to recognize the sport and the athlete, and the endeavors and what's possible drug free. That's why I'm doing this with you. But I also want to not be naive and let you know that there will be obstacles. Now, if you want to blow it up, as you say, and overcome those obstacles early, that will require a financial backing sizable and significant enough to where some of these athletes who are representatives of their federation, they're on the poster, they're the current world champ, they're the current, reigning champ. For them to participate with you, it's got to be one, financially reasonable to do so, and two, be worth the risk of losing the relationship they currently have, because that is what will be up on the table for a lot of those athletes.
That's beautiful, man, dude. I'm so happy that we're talking. You're giving it to me straight. I needed this. I'm
Just,
so glad.
I'm a realist when it comes to business.
Oh, dude, we needed to have this conversation. You're giving me some good insight. Okay, so this kind of reminds me. Did you see the movie Sinners by chance?
I don't think I did.
Oh, it's pretty good. You should check it out. But it reminds me of this moment where jazz musician player, he's offered $20 to go perform at a new juke joint, but he's getting $10 at the other place, and he's been getting that $10 for 20 years.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's a very similar concept of what you run to at a very micro scale. If especially, here's the thing: if we're fast forwarding 3 years from now, the natural bodybuilding world will have another competitor, and that's going to be the IFBB. They're shooting to have a lot more bodybuilders, and all these feds have been battling over who's providing what for many, many moons. Okay. And they all, they know of each other. Some of them stem back together from their youth. But at the end of the day, no one's just going to give up their fed, their income, their monetization, their athletes. They're going to fight for them, and they might fight dirty. So
This
you
this
need to
is
be
yeah.
prepared that the powers that be will know, and that you will have to face some ultimatums that aren't
Ultimatum.
by that.
This sounds like a fun little journey that you're describing. To tell you the truth, I
It's
mean,
not
granted, what were you saying?
not very fun. I've been part of it for too long, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see it as good practice because I have aspirations of going into politics.
Okay.
After it's the fitness industry, then it's the entertainment industry, like full time, and then it's politics directly after that. So I'm calling it the Schwarzenegger blueprint, but
There you
basically I'm
go.
following his trajectory. Only I'm doing it as a natural.
Yeah.
Um, so like I don't know what you're saying. All sounds like obstacles,
Yeah.
but I'm all about unification, and my goal is to properly create a harmonious world for all of us. So this is just good practice, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm currently with the ANBF, is because I just competed in an NPC untested show. I would not have been allowed to do that previously, nor would I have been supported to do so by either of the organizations. But prior to the show, I reached out to the promoter and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know some things have changed about me that we can coincide," and that allowed me to publicly compete at this event.
Okay, so let's say I wanted to start like making nice with all of the heads of the federations. What do I target? Promoters? Do I target the presidents? Who would you
I
recommend I speak with?
you're going to have to make your presence known in person. You're going
Okay.
to have to attend the larger events that are bringing in the best athletes. You're going to have to watch these professional athletes and shows, start picking up some stuff, put in your back pocket, and that way you can meet these people in person and shake hands. Like that would be my biggest recommendation: is make yourself physically known at the larger events and be consistent doing so, and then compete at them yourself and do well if you really want that trajectory to come true.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Aaron.
And that's the best way to be harmonious, to support them, support
You're a good dude.
you. I try to be. Not many people agree with me.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, I've always been one to support athletes regardless of their endeavor or feds where they want to go. Not everyone agrees with that, and people want to be themselves on, hey, you have to do our, you have to only be, you can't go elsewhere. Or once you become a pro in our organization, you're our property. Like I don't agree with those premise. Now I understand you're Mr. Olympia and you're financially making millions per year, being that representative, but you're also signing a contract saying, look, in order to make that income, I'm your representative. This is a trade agreement. I get that, absolutely. Outside of that pocket, though, the other feds tried that, and they just don't have the backing to justify it. So I'm cool if you get on a contract agreement and they want to say, hey, my likeness, NIL money. But when we try to put rules and regulations on your promoters and pros and coaches for deciding to venture elsewhere and play around too, I think that crosses them.
Interesting. Interesting.
I like this guy a
You
lot.
need to
I
be.
know you. I know you know me. When I just sit back and listen, this is one of those videos where, or one of those calls where I haven't really, I've chimed in where necessary, but this guy is like
Yeah.
a fucking book we can learn from. So I've just
Yeah.
been sitting back, just trying to soak up everything he's been saying.
And I really appreciate how open and honest you are with, like, you're very forthcoming with the information. I've tried to talk about politics within the sport of bodybuilding, and people are afraid. Like, you say the word politics and they just
Oh, oh,
shut
oh,
up.
oh. Because they don't want to. They don't want to get in trouble for saying the wrong or right thing. Because to them, if they're right and it is calling out or making it like too obvious about something,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
feel like it might get shadow banned or shunned
And
or something. So
and the
it's
thing
like
is that, like, I don't care about the politics of the sport. I care about
you
telling a great
shouldn't.
story. And like
And it's
politics are like that's all story is. Story
but
is politics.
And
politics are supposed to be able to change. Like so, if you're so worried about about a certain policy or politic that's going on within the sport, if you're not willing to actually voice your opinion about it, it's going to stay the same exact way forever.
and you will run into it because where there's money, there's going to be politics and control. Okay, and so that the more successful you are, Shaun, the more you'll run into this. And then you're going to be forced with some hard decisions. And then I'm telling you right now that you will go, okay, am I going to financially lose money for my beliefs? Or am I going to maybe make more money and broadcast my services more, but have a level of control that I need to implement in order to maintain that status quo? That's what's going to be difficult with your path moving forward. And this is where I've ended up over the years realizing that I can't sleep at night if I don't stand up for my beliefs. So if those beliefs are not shared by the organization I'm with, well, I'm going to have to move on. I'd rather make less money and be able to have my convictions versus say, you know what? Maybe what I believe in is less important than the financial backing that this organization or federation has.
All right, you're definitely giving me some good insight. What you're the ideas that are coming to me right now is that I actually need to highlight the various federations even more in the finalized product. They need to get consistent shout outs. This needs to feel like a team effort. The
Yeah,
aim is to blow up the sport of natural bodybuilding.
if you're gonna blow up the sport of bodybuilding, you're gonna have to say those letters of those organizations. You're gonna have to recognize their staff, how long they've been running, their big show, their best athletes. You've mentioned in previous videos PNBA and Philip Ricardo Jr. and Kyoshi Moody, and you've mentioned the WNBF and you've mentioned the OCB, but we're rewinding the clock 30 years, and there's been a lot of very good national champions. You need to know that history, and you need to know the other feds or non-sanctioned feds that put on shows who have had these athletes maybe participate as well, whether it be the IP or the Mr. America or um, they all have had great champions. They have a lot of passion, but the reason why there's so many feds isn't just money; it's Where do we draw the line on what's natural and what's not? Okay. And that, if you look at it, they all draw the line a little differently. And this is where the disagreement will come in, and they will continue to come in. I can ask you right now, Shaun, are you lifetime drug free?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that that's the only way that you can claim natural status?
I mean, I'm a fucking diplomat, so like that would be my preference, but I don't really care. I don't really care.
So,
If you were taking drugs, and yeah,
so if you had Jay Cutler decide to do your show and be off drugs for 2 years, what would you think?
unacceptable.
Okay, why? You just said that you're a diplomat and that you would allow someone who previously did to do the show. Now, where do you draw the line on the time?
I personally like the WMBF rules, which I believe is 7 years clean.
10 now.
Oh, okay, yeah, I love that. Even though, like, how do you prove that? So I guess like that's my whole thing. It's like if you can't prove it, then like why are we even talking about it if we can't prove it? You know?
So that's why the polygraph test exists, is that they all change that time frame. And we've had athletes who have failed our polygraph because guess what? It's a 10-year banned substance. But I had an athlete, I won't name who, I won't name the year, that failed because they were taking testosterone pellets in their glutes 7 years prior. They hadn't taken them in 7 years, but they unfortunately were disqualified from competing at that year's show because the rule change from that year was from 7 to 10. So some people, and this is why so many organizations exist, would say, well, you should just let them compete. It's been 7 years. Most science states that most cells turn over in 7 years and that this is drug free. And there's plenty of feds that go with that line. And there are feds that go with 5. And there's feds that go with 3 or 2. Now, then it comes down to Shaun on where do you draw the line? And this is why we've had such a hard time in natural bodybuilding with unification, is that who's to say that that person who took all the drugs 10 years ago and still you can tell retains some value from it? Because we have science now that states muscular nuclei is retained. But we also have Joe Schmo who accidentally took a peptide 3 years back for 2 days that's banned.
Mm. Mm.
This is why it's been so difficult to unite natural bodybuilding. And you, if you want to do this in a way that does create diplomacy, you need to listen to all the heads on why they have chosen their route and make a decision on where you're supposed.
This is beautiful. I feel like we just got like a fucking sensei or something.
This
Hey,
guy
I,
is
I
sounds
won't.
more knowledgeable than Greg Doucette when we went out there that time to like try to get fed some information about what we were trying to do. And he was, he was good at giving us what we needed at that time. But I think if we could have heard some shit like this at the start of everything, it would have been a lot more helpful for us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All I can do is help. I'd love for you guys to do what you're planning on doing, and I will prepare you for what it is you will probably run into and where those difficulties will lie. And so, what Aaron decides is the best course of action may be different than what Shaun does. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be a small subset of individuals who have to make the choice of what they can compete in with the qualification.
So what I would like to end up doing is the ideal scenario. We have 30 elite level natural bodybuilders who are lifetime natural, and they can
Like,
all swear. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that would be the ideal scenario. At
okay,
least for the first season. At least
okay,
for the first season. 30 lifetime naturals. Let's make it as clear and clean as possible, and then pray to God that we pick honest people.
yes.
We pray to God that we pick honest people.
2.5. You're going to get what 32.
Well, well, shit, man. I hope it's not a person I like that much, but no, I plan on liking all of them. So,
And say that's pretty good odds. I think that would create more controversy and
Yeah.
maybe more spectators because they'd be like, "Who was it?"
Yeah, and it is about like this. I'm as a storyteller, you're looking to capture human nature.
Yeah,
So
We
uh,
ain't all supposed to get along.
yeah,
Shit, that's what reality TV is supposed to be like. They want to
yeah.
see fights and shit. They want
If,
motherfuckers ain't about to sit there and watch
if, if,
motherfuckers getting
if,
along for 3
if
seasons.
you're
Nigga, they
putting
want to see somebody socking each other.
yeah.
that much money, I'm sorry, guy, you're gonna see some fights. You're gonna see,
Mm,
some, yeah.
mm.
That's like,
I mean, just think back about the stuff that we hear from Mel. Some of the stories that we get insight on from back in the golden era. So it's like, and he talks about these stories amongst all them fools in front of him, and they sit there and laugh together because it was just a bunch of motherfuckers with the same testosterone. Shit, they ain't had no hatred towards each other, but shit, in that moment, motherfucker, I'm trying to kill you.
Right.
And all
Yeah.
them dudes to this day is still great friends.
Well, I think the good news is I'm totally resigned to like however this story plays out, that's how it plays out. We've created a lot of great momentum, and we're getting an outpour of encouragement and enthusiasm, and we're making all the right connections and stuff like that. So at this point, I'm just looking to be a sponge, absorb as much information from as many knowledgeable people as I possibly can, and then aim to just steer this story in a positive direction. You know, where like we get like a good ending where people like feel like, oh my god, I believe in humanity again. Like that's the resounding feeling that I'm looking to create.
well, create the storyline, find your best athletes, make it to where people know who those athletes are, and what their journeys are like, and take their best images, take their best videos, show people what's possible drug free. Because I think the majority of people have skepticism because we're starting to be natural athletes with our current information, knowledge, art, equipment, everything we have with today's technology, who are starting to get to that golden era level physique that we thought was only possible with enhancement back in the 60s. And now we're starting to see certain athletes come about that are reminiscent of such. And that's beautiful. And to me, it's like, why do you need drugs? You can look like Frank Zane without him now. Like
That's what I'm going for.
that's the look, that's the draw, that's beautiful. And we want that, but people have their skepticism because it's going to take a lifetime of focus in order to achieve that. And
And
for some, even with that level of focus, they might not be genetically inclined to do it. And that's why you're going to have so much doubt and difficulty because I think the way people have been describing it lately, like genetics in terms of muscularity is like height. We got our 3 foot people and 8 feet people. We hear that a lot. It's pretty true, okay, but work ethic that is going to be completely different. And even that 3 foot person might be a friggin' beast eventually. If they put the
You
work
know
in.
what I just thought of? You know how like uh things always like they come and go, but then they always like always repeats itself.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how big natural bodybuilding ever was, back in the 70s, 80s, but there was guys that were like Kai Green, Melvin, Ronnie, and stuff like that were competing naturally. And if you think about it, time just took a little longer to finally repeat itself, but I feel like it's about to repeat itself in the best way.
Yeah, we have a lot of very good naturals coming out around the world, and because of social media, we're able to see these athletes, far more commonly than we once did. And so I think you have something on your side here where you can find them a lot easier. For one, obviously,
Yeah.
but two, we're getting to the point where it's becoming common enough to where you have what you just started this video saying is that people don't believe anyone's natural. Um, well, that, we are literally able to look at a billion people just like that now. We weren't able to do that. So, you know, that's where we're at. That's good for you. It's good for the sport. The only thing it's not good for is for us lowly promoters. Is back in the day we would have a lot more natural athletes participating, because well, all we had was a magazine or who we saw in the gym. And so we would have people participating that weren't the bee's knees. They weren't world champions. They weren't genetic freaks. And we have, 100 people per show. Now, because of social media, I hear it every day. I'm not ready. And these athletes are conditioned, they're muscular, they're dedicated. But when they're seeing these world's best, commonly, the moment they wake up on social media, it terrifies them because their self reflection is like, I ain't that. And so that's actually discouraging athletes at this juncture. And what we need is somebody to show people that, hey, here's the common ground we're seeing at the A level. It's not and then what is our open level? What is our pro level? What is our pro champion level? What is our world champion level? So people consider the hierarchy of progression.
Well, we're going to absolutely show all of that. I'm so glad that this entire conversation was recorded, even though there was some breakups. Where do you live?
Oregon.
Okay, that's not far.
No.
Yeah, we might have to link up.
Yeah, come up here,
Yeah.
guys. We'll gym for you.
Yeah, we can make a trip out of that one. I've
Yeah.
been wanting to go to Utah, bro.
Yeah, we might have to link up just because this was great, but there were some audio or there were some connection issues, and you're like a wellspring of knowledge. So like you're hitting a lot of topics that we could go a lot deeper into. But yeah, this was great.
Good. Well, I'm happy to talk with you guys, and I'm really happy to see more people involving themselves with the sports and trying to grow it. Uh, Again, I've been around the block a few times, and I'm like, keep doing this thing because I love it. It's my passion as well. Helping as many people as possible stay drug free, trying to inspire people to maybe not jump on the gear train before they even spend a few years, training hard. So I love that you guys are representing via your own action, training hard. Just my recommendation for the year to come, if you take one thing away from it, start attending these shows, regardless of organization. The bigger the show, the better. And look at these pro lineups. Look at these natural athletes. Look at what that standard is. You're gonna learn a lot there in person.
I love that, man. I love that. I will take that advice.
All right. Well, hope to see you guys at the next show.
Yeah. Are you going to WMBF Worlds?
I may not go to Worlds this year. I have a few options to move forward. We have our show in September here in Washington, the Washington State Natural. It's the 20th anniversary. That's September 13th. You can check out freedomshows.com. Shameless plug. I'm going to go to the Mr. America contest most likely in October. I've never been there. I didn't do well last year there. And then there's the ANBF Monster Match. It'll be a rising international show. That'll be in Massachusetts, November 1st, 2 days show. And then after that, I'm probably gonna be pretty toast. We'll see if I have the budgeting time or effort to want to continue on. Lo and behold, I've been to the last three worlds. I was the head writer for each one. Those are the best natural athletes I've ever seen. I'll tell you that straight up.
WMBF Worlds.
Yeah, so I used to follow the Orton Cup when 20 years ago. I followed Worlds. I followed the Ben Weider Naturals. I followed Mr. America. If you really want to see the best natural world athletes in the world, it'll be at the NBF Worlds. And I have my qualms with it, but at the end of the day, that's the truth. And you know what? I want those athletes to have the best representation. They deserve it. They are amazing. They come from all over. They spend a fortune to be there, and they deserve the very best.
Wow. You're a student, man. How long have you been in this game?
Since 2006.
So basically 20 years.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you for your time, man.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure talking to you guys.
Can we keep this open? You're dope.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, get call if we can find time. I'm pretty busy.
Okay.
But I'll try to set aside.
All right. Well, I appreciate all your time. Okay.
Likewise.
Thank you, guys.
All right, man. You have a good night.
All right.